In this class, we'll discuss about PCOD and management of PCOD. What exactly is PCOD? As a dietitian, if you come across a case of PCOD, how we are supposed to manage it? Okay. So PCOD stands for polycystic ovarian disease, but in fact it is a syndrome. The difference between a disease and a syndrome is like this. A disease has got a set of symptoms, whereas syndrome is collection of diseases. It is called a syndrome. Acquired immunodeficiency is a syndrome, wherein you get multiple diseases because of lack of immunity. So PCOS is also a syndrome, but for all practical purposes we use the term PCOD because it is nowadays is more common. Now, to understand PCOD, first let us see what the name implies. Okay, so P stands for poly, that is many, cysts, small swellings on the ovary leading to a disease or leading to a particular disease conditions. This is polycystic ovarian syndrome or polycystic ovarian disease. Now, to understand this, first we need to know what is the basic physiology of female uterine system, or the basic physiology of female reproductive system, or the functioning of ovaries. So this is the uterus, and these are fallopian tubes, fimbriae on either side, and here we have what you call ovaries on either side. Okay, so this uterus ends into cervix, and which leads into birth canal. Okay, this is normal female reproductive system. Now, what actually in a normal healthy individual, what is the function of different organs? So the very purpose of ovaries in a person's body is for producing egg, and which in turn is the reason, which in turn its function is fertilization. Okay, so that is propagating life. If you look at the difference between living and non-living organisms, living organisms, they have this growth and reproduction. So survival of the species, continuation of species. So ovaries are called, that is the reason why, because they are producing egg, they are called primary sex organ in female. Okay, what does it mean? Because if there is no production of eggs in ovaries, so fertilization is not possible. So we have the follicles, the ova developing inside the ovary, and every ovum is supposed to be released once in every 28 days in a normal healthy individual. Now, in PCOD what happens is, ideally speaking, the cycle is for 28 days, right? In 28 days, how it works is, let's say this 3 to 4 days is the menstruation days. Then on 14th day there is ovulation, and finally on 28th day or 0th day again it starts. Again the menstruation starts on this day. So the catch here is, after the ovulation, cycle or the menstruation starts on 14th day, right? This is very important. It's not that after menstruation 14th day ovulation, we cannot exactly say that. This is a normal individual. In some people who have delayed or prolonged periods, what happens is, let's say this is 35-day cycle for a person, and exactly 14 days before that, that is on 21st day, this is where ovulation happens. This is where the egg is released into the system. Ovulation. Then on 14th day, the egg actually waits for fertilization for 2 to 3 days. If it is not happening, the fertilization is not happening within 2 to 3 days, it is washed away along with all the preparation in the endometrium. That is known as menstruation. Okay, menstrual flow. Now, how PCOD is connected to the irregular cycles? Let's try to understand. In uterus, there are two types of events that are happening. The changes in ovary and the changes in the endometrium. So the ovarian changes, the follicles are stimulated by a hormone known as follicle stimulating hormone. This follicle stimulating hormone will help in the maturation and release of egg from the ovary. So let's say a follicle is in small size, it gradually grows in size, and on 21st day here, egg is released. Okay. Now, once the egg is released, it is taken up by the fimbriae of fallopian tubes, and this travels like this and waits in the uterus. Okay. So this release of egg is called ovulation. It happens exactly 14 days before the start of menstrual cycle. This is how we measure it. The same thing, let's say if somebody is having a cycle of, let's say, 32 days, then minus 14. On 18th day, the ovulation happened. Okay. If somebody wants to conceive, they should measure the ovulation day like this. Okay. Now, the follicle is released, and while the follicle is being released on 14th day, what happens is the egg waits there for fertilization to happen. If it is not happening, so it has to try again next month, and it cannot stay here. So it will move out. But what happened before that was, see, this egg, when fused with spermatozoa, it gets fertilized, and it got a fertilized egg. From there the life begins, is it not? A new life is being formed. To nourish this fertilized egg, the endometrium, the innermost layer of the uterus is called endometrium, which is richly supplied with blood vessels. So this grows in size, this becomes thick, so that it is completely vascularized. Completely vascularized in the sense, what do blood vessels, what is the function of blood vessels? It is to supply blood. Blood contains what? Nutrients and oxygen. So to support this about to be formed new life, the whole endometrium is like highly vascularized. It becomes thick with all blood vessels and want to feed this fertilized egg. So all this preparation needs to be shed off. Okay. Needs to be shed off. So it gets cut off, right? It gets cut off in the most layer, all the preparation, and everything is washed out in few days, usually for 3 to 4 days. This is what we call as menstruation, normal menstruation. Now, if you look at the cellular, the endometrial changes, this is from 14th day, right? And the hormones involved in this particular process are two. Okay, so one is like estrogen, and second one is progesterone. Okay, now the secretion of estrogen from the ovary, right, is high during the first 14 days, of which is called proliferative stage. So the first 14 days of a normal cycle is called proliferative stage, and the second 14 days of the cycle is called secretory stage. So estrogen is high during the first half of the cycle, then it will gradually taper off. So it will come down gradually to the normal level. But the progesterone level is low during proliferative stage and gradually rise during secretory stage. There are two conditions here. Try to understand the meaning of progesterone. Okay. So gestation means pregnancy. Pro for pregnancy. So progesterone is responsible for maintaining the pregnancy state, right? The impregnated uterus. For the fetus, progesterone is required. So if the egg is fertilized, the progesterone will go in increased levels to maintain progesterone. But look at the meaning of estrogen. Estrogen means feminine. So whatever feminine qualities are required, see, in women all secondary sexual characters are because of the excess secretion of estrogen. So this excess estrogen or estrogen, this is responsible for rapid growth. During puberty, women grow very fast. Okay, so they grow in length, their body shape and development of secondary sexual characters, all of them are mediated by estrogen. So estrogen is like feminine, progesterone is like motherly in nature. Just like a mother, how she wanted to protect her kids. So progesterone want to protect this fertilized egg. If the egg fails to get fertilized, the progesterone also will come down. Okay, these two are important hormones. More about these hormones we'll see later part of the lecture. Just for time being, try to understand only one thing. Why there are cysts formed in ovary? What does it mean? Okay, now this estrogen will not come down just like in a normal individual, will not come down. Okay, instead it is staying for more period of time. Okay, then it will taper off. And here also estrogen is more. Progesterone will remain constant throughout and it will come only when egg is fertilized. So the delayed periods or the extended periods are because of this excess estrogen. So the concept is, in our body, the estrogen secretion and progesterone secretion should match with each other. If they are not matching or complementing each other, if because of some other reason, the estrogen is more, then what happens here is the proliferative phase of the cycle gets extended, leading to delayed periods. Now in this case, the hormonal disturbance is there. I hear a lot of people saying, people with infertility, PCOD and thyroid, they say hormonal imbalance. I ask them what hormones. People seriously don't have a clue, right? Hormonal imbalance, when we are talking about, is a huge term, but when it comes to PCOD, we are talking about two major. We have FSH and LH, other hormones are there, luteinizing hormone, they are there. We'll come to that later. But time being, first, normal ovary function to PCOD. We are trying to see why a normal ovary is become polycystic, leading to a disease. So this is the normal cycle. Just to recap, ovary produces an egg, it goes into uterus, anticipating fertilization, giving birth to life. If that doesn't happen, all the preparation inside the endometrium is washed out and again the cycle begins. Okay, now there are two hormones that are, grossly speaking, two hormones that are responsible for maintenance of this natural cycle, progesterone and estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen, first half of the rapid growth of all the blood vessels and all this stuff, rapid growth is by estrogen, and then once it is fertilized, progesterone will take care of growth of this egg. So the delayed periods is because of only increase in estrogen level in the body. Now, what are the other sources of estrogen in a female body? So, let's try to understand the other sources of estrogen in female body. If estrogen is coming from external sources, it is called xenoestrogen. So, people who are eating, right, a lot of chocolates and ice creams and sugary products, colas, all of them, what do? They increase xenoestrogen content in the body. Second thing, peripheral estrogen. That is, this estrogen is produced in the body, but not from ovaries, but if this estrogen is coming from other tissue. So this estrogen is from peripheral, estrogen is from the excess fat that is there in the human body. Okay, now why is this excess fat is producing extra estrogen? If you look at our human body, right, fat is predominantly deposited under skin, subcutaneous fat, but in some people fat is like concentrated more in abdomen, leading to central adiposity. Okay, now for understanding thing, let us assume why they say visceral fat is more dangerous. Okay, so this is for your understanding purpose, get the point, right? You see, the viscera is like very busy system. You have lungs, heart, stomach, liver, spleen, pancreas, intestine, kidneys, all of them, they are located in the abdomen. And if the fat is also there, fat, what is the shape of a fat cell? See, if this is a normal cell, you see only this is the nucleus and this is all cytoplasm. The thin layer is cytoplasm. Rest of it, only this is cytoplasm. Okay, and rest of it is all fat. This is all fat, completely filled with fat. But what is the shape of a normal cell? If you look at a cell like this, and this is nucleus, and you have cytoplasm all around, and we have mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes. So this is all healthy tissue. Okay, but this is all like a storage. Healthy tissue is like very thin. So what is the function of a cell? Metabolism is the function of a cell. What is metabolism? There are only two things that can happen inside the cell. One is making, second one is breaking. So making is anabolism, breaking is catabolism. All these, I mean, food substances, they enter into the cell, right, and they broken down into smaller particles and ultimately released, are releasing energy. Or small food amino acids, they enter and the cell will make proteins. These are the basic two things that are happening. So a healthy cell with all the functioning cell organelle, the rate of metabolism is higher. But if you look at the adipose tissue, the cells, because they are just storing, there is no lot of activity happening. Now imagine these cells, they have a mind of their own. Okay, so to understand this better, let us take a small example. This is a small capillary. On this side of the road, they are like fat cells. Okay, with the small, what do you say, nucleus and cytoplasm. And on this side of the road, let's say there is an active tissue like liver, stomach, which is doing a lot of activity every day, right? So this is a huge godown. Let us say this is a huge godown. I mean, for analogy's sake, I am telling this. So this is a nucleus, and every day lot of activity is happening on this side of the road. Let's say there are houses and they are celebrating each and every function. Every day there are people coming in, going out, and the school buses. So there is a lot of activity in these cells. And if you see this poor adipose tissue, they don't have so many people coming in, so much of activity. So let us say this is a watchman of this huge godown, and he feels bored, and he also wanted to do something. So he looks into his godown and sees huge deposits of fat. So what can I make with this fat? How I can also contribute to the functioning of body? So he has got substrate, that is raw material fat. With that, all he can do is make more fat. Okay, I mean make more estrogen. I'm sorry. So excess fat in our body contributes to peripheral estrogen and our eating habits. So what are the sources of xenoestrogens? I'll explain later. But excess fat in our body leading to peripheral estrogen, leading to delayed cycles, and this is one cause. Xenoestrogens is the another cause. We'll come to that later. Now, if it is getting delayed, this program is different. The secretion of estrogen is different, and the cells, they are programmed to release on every 28 days. So the next one will come. It is waiting. It is in waiting list. But the egg which is supposed to be released from here, it is not released. Okay, so it will come and stand in queue, and the next menstruation is only after 32 days here. So by that time, another follicle will come on top, and another will come. With each delayed cycle, all the cysts are coming and waiting in the queue on surface of the ovary. So if people don't watch out for excess fat in their body, their eating habits, how unknowingly people are eating. See, when we take children to movie theaters or teenagers to the movie theaters who have onset of menarche, what kind of foods they crave for? They crave for sweets, ice creams, chocolates, all this stuff. And I mean, there are other things also, lifestyle things that will increase the xenoestrogen content in our body. Say for example, nowadays every girl, they spray a lot of chemicals on their body, whether it is like perfume or deodorant, and they apply a lot of creams to their body. All of them, they contain aromatic benzenes, and they are absorbed into the system. The body absorbs that, and that contributes to the xenoestrogen levels in their body. So if this is the case, if our lifestyle, our weight, our eating habits are not properly managed, the body is producing what? Excess estrogen. We call this condition as estrogen dominance. Okay, so briefly this is this, and next we'll see what are the normal functions of estrogen, what are the normal functions of progesterone, and what is the function of FSH, LH, and the cellular changes, uterine changes, and ovarian changes very briefly. And we talk about, see, ultimately why we are learning this. If somebody comes with PCOD along with obesity, right, we should not directly jump into their weight, measure their fat percentage, take their body composition, and don't start prescribing diet. Okay, so if you know at what stage, what are the contributing factors for the PCOD in a particular girl, then we can effectively manage through diet. So we cut off, we try to explain them, we educate them. See, every time you eat this, this is what you are doing to your body. And if you don't reduce fat in your body, this is contributing to estrogen dominance. So this helps in planning a better diet for the person who is suffering with PCOD. And later part we'll see what are the signs and symptoms of PCOD, how it is connected to both diabetes and hypothyroidism, and why it is like how it is leading to infertility. All these things we'll see shortly.